Here we are again to talk about aviation and anything else that springs from that. Paul Brennan here in Wellington and...
Martin Noakes in Wellington.
How you doing, Martin?
I've got a stinking cold.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I shouldn't get too close in that case. I can't afford to take that sort of hit.
No, well, neither can I, but I am.
And the video clip, Martin, for those watching the YouTube version of this podcast, you'll see if you look at the monitor, is from the cockpit of an RNZAF C-130 flying over the area around Nelson and Marlborough on a low-level drop exercise. And I can tell you, it was at the end of that, it was the sickest I'd been for ages. I just had to go and throw up.
But it looked pretty spectacular. I've seen the video earlier.
Yeah.
And it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
apart from being sick.
This mainly this is the view from a camera that I put up behind the pilots with some clamps and a bit of a wide-angle lens on, and looking out through the cockpit window so you can see the scenery flash past. So quite a nice little clip, that one.
It's very nice, yes.
So we'll let this run for a bit while we talk about things, and for those listening on radio, well, you'll just have to go to YouTube and dial in our New Zealand Aviation Podcast in the search and watch it that way. Okay, well, always plenty to talk about. A week or so ago, Air New Zealand announced that their half-year interim profit was up 40% to, I think, about 160 mil, 140, 160.
Yeah.
I should have the exact figure in
I
front
think
of me.
it was 140 million.
But it's up there. Why are they doing so good? I see fuel prices have come down. They paid 528 million less for fuel, so that's really got to be
That'll be the main driver.
the main thing, yeah. That's their biggest overhead for the operation.
They've also been quite good at not flying to places that people don't pay to go to.
So that's paid off.
Which is quite clever.
And that's what, not going to London via Asia.
All that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, they have no local competition, so...
Yes, well, we'll touch on that with Qantas as well, but that's always been a good cash cow to underwrite the entire operation, I would put forth.
A good little earner.
Yeah, and we're talking about, Rotorua, Napier,
Yeah.
Whangarei, Timaru, places like that.
Places like that.
Used to be Queenstown was one of those places, but not anymore. That's part of the discount structure now.
And quite a lot of competition to Queenstown.
Yeah, well, competition is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll always do it.
But they're doing well, and they're talking about, South America, we've touched on that, but Japan now a big focus. They want to double traffic to and from Japan by 2019. And they're saying it's the comeback kid Japan, because it used to be big.
It used to be very big, and they lost it for a while as Japan went through its problems and is probably still going through some of its problems. But I see they're offering some very competitive fares from Japan to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And the other day they had a grab a seat to Tokyo, I think, for $723.
Return?
Yeah, from here.
Okay. Speaking of competitive prices to entice people into travelling, did you see China Southern offering Auckland via, what's their base? Guangzhou?
Oh, Guangzhou, yes.
Is that
Guangzhou,
it?
yeah.
And on to a host of European cities for 1,600 Kiwi return.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, so that just shows you where it's going. But
yeah. And how much was business class? Like $5,200?
$5,200, yeah.
Wow.
And that was on the Dreamliner, and I think then the A380.
Wow.
So not bad.
No, not bad at all.
Yeah. Watch out.
Yeah. I wonder how Air New Zealand will respond to that.
Well, you'll see discounting, won't you?
You'd hope
have
so.
to.
Well, you'd guess so.
Well, it's competition, isn't it?
It is.
Isn't that what it's all about, man?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, all right. But we won't see the Japanese airlines flying down here.
No.
It used to be JAL.
Yeah.
But never. ANA might have come through on a few charters, but never ANA. But they've gone. They've obviously.
Yeah. Well, Air New Zealand had
servicing.
They had that code share for a while as well. When I was flying to and fro Tokyo, you'd even have a JAL cabin staff person on the plane.
Oh, right.
And it was to
translate.
Some people on that plane had JAL tickets.
Ah, right.
That wasn't a Star Alliance flight for them, but they've just got rid of that. So now it's Air New Zealand or nothing.
Okay, well, I guess they'd be using, the 787s for those flights?
When they get them, yeah.
Is there a talk of a slight delay there?
There was some talk, yes, that it would actually benefit New Zealand's cash flow for those planes to arrive slightly later and both of them to arrive closer together.
Right.
So, because you can't really do anything with one plane.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they'd got them earlier and together with this tie-up with Singapore Airlines, I wonder if they've not missed the opportunity to get people to the World Cup in Brazil, because if they had a destination in South America, Air New Zealand could have been funneling Singapore Airlines passengers all the way across to South America.
They could still do that, though. They've got equipment to do that, haven't they? The 777s?
But they haven't announced a destination yet.
But that would be a logical hitching post to start things with.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Singapore Airlines had been hoping for, because otherwise all those people have got to fly via North America.
There's a big interest in Asia, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we'll watch that space.
It'd be interesting to see if they announce something in the next couple of months. Yeah. Or even some charters to Sao Paulo, or one-off flights to Sao Paulo that coincides with the Singapore Airlines arrival.
Yeah. Well, if they could send 747s up to the Oshkosh Air Show, I think they'd be able to fill a few planes with soccer nuts.
Yeah.
And take them through to, via Auckland, through to, Sao Paulo
or wherever.
Someplace like that. I see it's the 50th anniversary, in fact it was last month, of Mt Cook Airlines. The airline set up by Harry Wrigley. It started off as a car transport company, and he was the first really to see the potential of aviation and tourism in the Otago-Canterbury area, and set up the ski fields too in Queenstown.
So is he flying those Bristol freighters?
I think he started off with de Havilland's with skis.
So he was like the old-time equivalent of heli skiing, flying people up onto the snowfields.
Onto the glaciers,
Oh, wow.
Invented the skis.
Okay.
And they're still used today. But the operation got bigger. He had DC-3s, and then, of course, he got the 748s, Hawker Siddeley 748s in there.
Yeah.
I went on the very last 748 scheduled service, by the way.
Where'd you go?
Palmerston North to Wellington, and then Wellington to Christchurch.
Oh, that would have been exciting.
And I remember the Honourable Don McKinnon was on board. He probably didn't know it was the last 748 flight, that he was making history. We put a camera in the wing.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I've still got the VHS of it.
Oh, wow.
Looking back,
what year was that?
That would have been late 90s, 97, 98, around there.
Oh, geez, I thought it would be longer ago than that.
Well, Mt Cook were carrying on, but they were just retiring the 748. And all those 748s went to the UK, to Emerald Airlines, Liverpool-based freight carrier.
Okay.
They went via Kathmandu, mainly, because the guy who brokered them also owned the Air Nikon 748s.
So is that who your father flew with?
Yeah.
So he flew all the way to the UK on a 748?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
From Christchurch.
Ah.
Via Norfolk, Brisbane, Mount Isa,
Yeah.
Darwin, Denpasar, Singapore, Burma, or Myanmar, isn't it?
Yeah, Myanmar.
Up to India, I think, or Pakistan, and then Kathmandu. I'm getting my order wrong, but that's the way they went.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a treat, actually, for him.
Yeah, very nice.
And then came back on a scheduled flight, That was a very successful operation, Mt Cook. As I say, it wasn't just the airline, it was a bus company as well. He made his own buses.
Okay.
In Christchurch. They called them landliners. They were proper substantial buses. He had his own manufacturing.
And I wonder if that turned into that bus company. What was it called? Neo? Or
the Design Line.
Design Line, yeah.
The one that went broke.
Yeah, well, the one that they sold and then closed.
It may have. I don't know. I haven't looked into that.
Yeah.
And, of course, then they got the ATRs. Air New Zealand bought them out. And,
they sold Design Line to an American company, which then promptly closed it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because Design Line is now apparently involved in designing fuel cell buses for some city in America.
Okay.
But nothing to do with New Zealand anymore.
Oh, right. They got away with the IP and shut down the operation here. Nice. Anyway, so 50 years since Mt Cook, and definitely has its place in history. Speaking of mountains and aviation, I see the Wanaka Air Museum on a 737.
Yeah, good on them.
Yeah, good luck is all I can say. I've tried that as well. Didn't get very far.
Could they land in Wanaka?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you'd probably ship it, take the wings off and ship it, and then drive it there.
They were threatening delays on the M4 in the UK recently because they're driving an A320 down the freeway.
Oh, what were they doing with that? Taking it to a museum? Or?
No, taking it to the Knackers Yard.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can pick up airframes for next to nothing for those things. I tried to purchase the very first one, ZKNAC. In fact, right now, for those who are watching on the YouTube version, here is the very aircraft that I try to get hold of, and it's orange and red Wings of the Nation livery of 1974. But the airline wouldn't do it, Martin. They said the shareholders wouldn't approve of that sort of expenditure.
Huh.
That was when it was privately owned by Briley's.
So anything that costs more than $5.
I had the guy down to $50K for
Wow.
the airframe, which included all the seats in it still,
Yeah.
though they weren't the original seats. It wasn't just completely stripped out. It still had some bits and pieces. So if you're making a display, you still had some bits and pieces to work with there. And I had the New Zealand Shipping Company, which operated a container vessel, Auckland, LA, Auckland, Wellington, Auckland, LA, that run there.
Yeah.
And they'd said that if I'd got it to the Long Beach docks,
Yeah.
they'd put it on and take it for nothing.
On the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Pity that didn't work out, but
Yeah.
hope Wanaka have more luck.
Well, they should be able to get hold of one.
Yeah.
And it would be a great attraction.
Yeah.
You know, it's my favourite airliner.
Well, you'll go.
Yeah, totally. I say good luck. There's still a few of the old Air New Zealand ones flying around, the 219 Advanced, in Mexico mainly, I see.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They put gravel kits and all that on them.
No. I think they're just cheap planes to fly around.
Yeah.
Aviasa is the airline.
Okay.
Aviasa.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they took most of them. So good luck on getting that. I see that TV series that examines air crashes has finally done the Air New Zealand A320 one that crashed at Perpignan, I think, in France, off the coast there.
Air crash investigations.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And it always was a bit perplexing in the early days of that crash to work out what happened there or to get some idea. And again, it just goes to show that speculation is never a good thing, because I see it turns out they're saying that one of the major causes of the crash, if you exclude the pilots not picking up on cues while they're flying and doing a test routine at too lower altitude anyway, was that after it was painted, it apparently had some dust on it, and the paint shop decided to hose it all off with a high-pressure hose, which put water into the angle of attack sensors, which sit out on the outside of the skin near the cockpit
like a little
windows.
vein that goes up and down.
And when they're up flying, the water in there froze
solid.
locked the angle of attack sensors, so the aircraft was giving...
Erroneous.
it was telling them the wrong things.
Yep.
And they were too...
wrapped up
reliant
in their tests and
also believed in the electronics so much that it didn't occur to them that something wasn't working properly, and
stalled it
and fell into the water and hit really hard. They shattered into pieces.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's how that happened. Again, it just shows you that
I wonder how that'll
left
affect
field
Yeah.
thing like that can result in that.
Is that proven or is that highly suspected?
I think that's one of the findings of the
I wonder how that'll affect
commission.
insurance.
Well, I don't know.
The paint company, whoever painted it, might end up having to answer a few questions of why they didn't follow procedures, because I'm sure that type of thing's probably meant to be covered up.
Well, probably
Stop
is.
precisely that
well, that's
happening.
really what you need to know.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't ever been considered, I guess
Yeah.
if it's not in any operation description,
Yeah.
then maybe you could claim that it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's sad, isn't it?
Terrible.
And I think 6 died in that, the 2 German pilots from XL Airlines.
Yep.
And the Kiwis on board, a couple of pilots and some engineers, I think. So,
Terrible.
yeah, that's that. That
Yep.
has only just been reported on in the last week or so.
It's on YouTube, that show, isn't it? That
It is,
particular
if you wanna-
episode
if you
of
wanna
Air
watch
Crash
it.
Investigation. Yep.
Yeah. The thing about those programs, though, is that they use those horrible generic cockpits that look like they've sort of just made in a cheap, movie set
Well, they have.
thing. Well, use a simulator.
I know. But
Make it real.
They have very low production values.
Well, no, they are quite high production values because some of the animations are good.
The animations are actually very good.
It's just that they, their simulated cockpits sort of look all right, I guess, to the layman.
It's just generic.
A 747, you want to see someone sitting in a 747. You know
Or an A320.
Yeah, it's something that looks like you've made up in your bedroom, basically.
Yeah. Ironing boards.
Okay, so big in the news is Qantas, and this is the story that keeps on giving.
Wow.
Where are we up to now with Qantas?
Well, they want to get rid of thousands of people. They're deferring most of their aircraft, their arriving aircraft.
Yeah.
They're in a terrible state, actually.
So what's happened here?
Domestic competition.
Not many people are mentioning that in regards to Qantas, but we've discussed this. And Air New Zealand would be in the same situation if there was a strong competitor here domestically that was prepared to go for a period of time taking losses with the ultimate goal of gaining enough market share to turn that around.
Yeah.
They would also be having these sorts of problems. But it seems that also compounding this, Qantas had their credit rating downgraded, about a year ago?
Yeah.
So how much extra percentage terms is that on the debt?
Yeah.
In terms of interest, what is it, 1 or 2% extra?
There'll be a lot, and all those new aircraft are all financed, so it's all adding up. But also, Qantas, they've got domestic competition. I mean, one could argue that they had domestic competition in previous years with Ansett, but Virgin's different type of competition. They're not happy with a cosy duopoly.
No. What's happened is Ansett and TAA, before TAA got dissolved into Qantas, were the two very
Cozy
and about 50-50 balanced.
Yeah, and happy with that
situation. The government owned TAA and ANA and Reg Ansett owned Ansett. He was the minority shareholder, in fact, though he ran the show. They were basically domestic.
Yes.
With, I think, a flight to the Cocos Islands or the Christmas Islands off into the Indian Ocean, but that's a domestic flight still. What happened was Qantas, because it was the flag carrier for Australia and faced virtually zero competition apart from Pan Am on all their, or BOAC on their international routes, back in the days where you were patriotic and you went with that, you follow the flag, that's all changed.
Yes.
There's Emirates now, there's a whole lot of other airlines.
There's all that.
And they came to the domestic scene late.
Yes.
And then
milked it.
And then when Ansett went, they had it to themselves.
Yeah, and milked it shamelessly.
Totally.
Yeah, and then Virgin came along.
Printed money.
Yeah, Virgin came along and they weren't happy with the cosy duopoly.
No. At first, it wasn't a problem because Virgin came along and said, we're going to be a low-cost carrier. We're only going to go on the main trunk routes. And they thought, sweet, there's enough traffic. As long as you don't go to Karratha and Mount Isa,
and that's exactly what I mean. Virgin didn't play the game and
now
said,
they're going to those.
Yeah, places. They said, hang on, we know where the money is. We've seen your little secret. We're going to go on all the country routes.
Yeah,
and that's what's hammering them.
Yeah,
and with shiny new Embraer 190s, it probably cost half what an old boiler 737 cost to run to these places, and it's hurting them hard.
And then at the same time, you've got this far harder position to defend internationally because the competition is just raining down from all angles. It's like a maelstrom.
Just about to get worse because Etihad are going to start putting their A380 into Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah, well,
so
there you go.
that's and
there's only one way fares can go, and that's down.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah.
So they're not going to get any relief at all, are they?
No, they're not. They had their place in the sun and they were fat and happy, and now they've got to get rid of a lot of that. And what are they talking now? 5,000, up to 5,000 people
who's that
eventually.
Going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be
people in the regions,
and anyone to do with the planes they're getting rid of, the 747s, the 767s,
the whole shebang that goes with that.
They'll all go.
Yeah, wow. And what about their debt, though? If they're asking the government to guarantee their debt, you know that they're having trouble servicing it.
The government said they're not going to guarantee their debt. The government, the only thing the government said, or the only thing it looks like they're going to discuss,
is the ownership laws.
Is the ownership, but not letting an airline have a majority share, but they are willing to up the maximum block that they can buy from 25% to up to 49%.
But why would you want to buy into the thing?
Well, it's too late now. You're trying to sell something people don't want. They've given away their international business to Emirates. Virgin are probably offering a better product domestically. So, no, they might have left it too late. 5 years ago, no worries.
Well, what can they do?
I
mean, what are they going to end up being?
I expect the government will have to go back on what it said and will have to guarantee their debt.
But how can they justify that when you've got another airline?
It was just as local. Yeah.
Yeah. What about them?
I know.
Hey, what about us?
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot of people. If 5,000 are going and they're Australians in Australia.
Well, they're talking of, I think, 2,000 now.
Yeah.
But up to 5,000 eventually.
But you add that up with the car companies, the thousands involved there. They're all relatively skilled workers, I would imagine.
Well, this is what happens with
politically, that could be a big issue.
This is what happens with protectionism. Whether or not it's a good or a bad thing, you can't stop. You know, you can't unprotect or half unprotect. You either have to stick with it or don't do it in the first place.
Yeah. Well, maybe Qantas, the only thing they can do is end up gutting those A380s of everything in them and putting the maximum number of seats in there, 800, and becoming that global low-cost carrier.
I wouldn't be surprised if Qantas actually got rid of the A380s. I mean, if they've got no people to fly around, what do they need them for?
Yeah. But that is a retrenchment that basically says we're giving up.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how much better Qantas would have been if 12 years ago they'd gone and bought 777-300 ERs and got rid of the 747, done what any other airline in its place would have done.
Yeah, they saw the writing on the wall.
But they couldn't do that because every time they suggested changing planes, they had huge staff problems.
So Labour's at the bottom of this. Well, the Aussie way of doing it.
The inflexibility of their labour, yeah. made any decision a hard one.
All right, so the woes of Qantas continue.
Certainly do. While Qantas won't be too happy at the moment, Airbus must be smiling. There's reports coming out of China that they're about to order up to 200 A330s.
Gulp.
Yeah. And China Eastern's just ordered 70 new A320s.
Gulp again.
Yeah.
These aren't the Neos.
They will be a mix of Neos and everything else, yeah.
My golly, 200 A330s.
Yeah, $6.4 billion worth of planes.
You'd almost want to manufacture them in China.
Well, they've got the final assembly plant for the A320 program in China. And if they go ahead and order 200 A330s, which will be the tip of the iceberg, people are saying, they will put a final assembly plant for the A330 in China as well.
So they're going to use these, what, domestically?
Domestic, medium, and regional, but short range, high capacity.
Right. Is that the 330-200?
Apparently it'll be a mix.
Right.
A mix.
Well, that new one that, the paperwork says it's
lighter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Well, they'd be happy back there in Toulouse, wouldn't they?
They'd be very happy. The engine supply will be happy.
Multi order for the A320.
Yeah.
Never stops.
No, it doesn't. It's
so
amazing.
What are they churning out, 30 a month or something?
34, I think, at the moment. And
it's more than one a day.
And because their order book's looking so good, they're thinking of taking it up to 50, 52 a month.
Crikey.
600 a year.
That's serious industrial power, isn't it?
That's a lot of planes.
Okay, so some big fat orders. Nothing that big for Boeing anywhere that I've heard about.
There's a Singapore startup's just ordered a whole bunch of Maxes.
Oh, okay.
But not that many.
Must have got a good price, eh?
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
Okay. All right. Our aircraft of the day. On radio last week, Martin and I had the pleasure of talking about the final flight of the DC-10, obviously relevant to our country because of Air New Zealand operating the aircraft. In fact, for those watching on YouTube again now, you can see this footage of the Air New Zealand DC-10 taken back in the 70s.
Great looking plane. Great looking plane.
Yeah. Distinctive because of the tail, really, isn't it? That engine sitting up there in the tail as opposed to the TriStar, which had it faired into the...
And you know why they had that difference?
No, tell me.
The TriStar had the Rolls-Royce engine, which was 3-shaft, therefore a lot shorter, and you couldn't fit the CF into an S-duct. You had to put it on a pilot because it's much longer.
And that's why it's up there.
That's why it's the shape it is.
Yeah. Program was launched in the late 60s. First one rolled out, I think, in 1970.
Yep.
Long Beach, California.
Yep.
And that first one flew for a long time for American Airlines. But checkered history, one would have to say.
Yeah.
Certainly made for the American market, that transcontinental JFK to LA.
That's the route I flew on
the Series 10, yeah.
American Airlines luxury liner.
Yeah.
Yeah, JFK,
Los Angeles. It was made for that market pretty well.
Yeah.
Then the Series 30 came along, the heavyweight intercontinental. That's what we received here in New Zealand. They had 8 of them, I think.
Extra undercarriage leg.
You could put that up, though. I've seen them do that.
On the ground.
With a KC-10.
They're a great looking plane, though. Huge side windows for the cockpit.
Yeah. It's like
almost like waist level.
It's like being in a sort of like a viewing room.
Yeah.
Also, when I had a look over the Orbis Flying Eye Hospital, which was on a DC-10-10. In fact, it was on the second one ever built, which flew for Freddie Laker.
Oh, yeah?
They're big. They're wide.
When I flew on the American Airlines when I was a teenager and I went to the States with a mate of mine from South Africa, so we flew SAA over to JFK, then picked up American Airlines. They had the cockpit camera.
Oh yeah,
and they showed that on the
you could see
screen.
the pilots doing their thing.
And it was American One Heavy. That's what
that was the call sign.
Yeah, that was
American One Heavy.
American One Heavy.
It'd be their top route probably in that case.
And we were just about to board, and they announced that there was an issue with the plane. And for the first time, I saw sort of 250 Americans get really, really angry and start screaming at the gate agent.
Gosh.
And then they started making the passengers offers. So if you're willing to take another American Airlines flight, we'll give you $50 and blah, 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 blah. And it got down to this plane. It turned out they'd punctured the skin with the air stair thing.
Oh, no. Well, that's a serious issue.
And then they're going to have to fix it and x-ray it or ultrasound it or something. And basically there were 7 of us left on this plane. And it had to go to LA because...
So you're only 7 people on the plane?
There were 7 of us. It was going to fly anyway because it was going to go on to Honolulu or something. So anyway... They'd given us all these coupons, and coming from South Africa where we didn't have fast food restaurants, American fast food restaurants,
crazy,
we were loading up on root beer and Big Macs and blah, blah, blah. And we got on this plane, there were 7 of us. There were more crew than us.
Is that right? Fantastic.
And it was absolutely fantastic. And they let us all sit up front.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And off we went to LA.
Yeah.
I think we were 14 hours delayed.
Oh, okay.
But hey.
Hey, what an experience.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
There were a few crashes. The Turkish crash, and I think that was in 1973.
Oh, they had some
into
bad luck.
The forest outside Paris.
Yeah.
That was due to a cargo latch fault.
Yeah.
Collapsed the floor, blew out, collapsed the floor.
They forced it, didn't they? They did something.
Yeah, I think it could be easily forced closed, and it would bend the mechanism.
And it wasn't closed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and under pressurization could blow out. There was an instance, I think, an American Airlines flight that had that happen, but the guy was able to control it and land it.
Then you had the Sioux City.
I've actually met Al Haynes, the captain of that plane, and talked to him about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the
that
flugoids all through the sky.
Yeah, that's amazing when you see that plane cartwheeling down the runway,
Yeah.
bursting into flames.
Yeah.
You just can't imagine that anybody got off it.
No, well, they did.
They did.
That was the first sign of that unfortunate tendency that you would see in the MD-11 crashes, where too hard on one side, it would very easily cartwheel, went over the top, the wing would break off. I think that happened with that aircraft there. It was remarkable they got on the ground for a start, but it was sad that it ended that way.
Yeah.
Of course, there was the DC-10 crash at O'Hare where the engine came off.
Yeah.
They were putting the engine on the wrong way, using a forklift.
Using a forklift truck and not getting...
bending the lugs or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But, of course, the Air New Zealand one would be the most high profile. That was nothing to do with the machine. But, that image of the tail on the ice.
Yeah.
It's a big image in the culture now. That's a definitive image, DC-10 tail. But I've talked to a few pilots over the years of DC-10s, and I know you have, and they love them.
Yes.
They like flying them. They're a good plane to fly.
I spoke to a FedEx pilot at Narita when I was overnighting there once, and he flew the MD-10, which is a DC-10 with the MD-11 cockpit.
That's right, yeah.
And he says it's a fantastic plane to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really responsive.
Yeah.
And
I spoke to an Air New Zealand pilot, and he said the difference between the DC-10 and the 747 is the 747, basically you feel detached from it. You're sitting in an office moving something.
You're just adjusting something.
You're just adjusting stuff.
Rather than having it strapped on your back sort of thing.
And he says the DC-10, you actually felt like you were flying a plane. You could feel, you made a control input, you could actually feel the plane responding to it.
Okay.
Yeah, they love them. Love them.
Well, obviously, Byman loved them.
Yes. Isn't that smart looking?
Well, they ended up being probably the longest operator of the aircraft in the air. Yeah, they scrubbed it up for the last one.
They love that plane, didn't they?
Yeah.
Their last flight was Bangladesh to Birmingham.
That's right. And I heard someone saying that the Museum of Flight in Seattle was after the aircraft, which is a great museum, and I know a couple of people there, and one guy in particular, Bob Bogash. Look him up online. He's very aggressive about getting aircraft. He got the Concorde there, and he got the de Havilland Comet 4.
The 69 are still flying.
Right.
The biggest operator is FedEx.
Okay.
And they converted them all to MD-11s.
So they must be by far way the biggest operator.
Yeah.
So outside of FedEx, there's probably only a handful still operating.
And what they did on the MD-10 to make that similar to fly to the MD-11, because FedEx also has those, they put springs in it on the controls to give it the similar control feel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're still trying to standardize the feel of it.
Yeah. This pilot guy said, the MD-10 is much easier to fly because its tailplane's almost 40% bigger.
Yeah.
So you had a lot more authority.
Yeah. That's been a problem with the MD-11, hasn't it?
I flew on the MD-11 too. Lovely plane to fly in.
Yeah. Smooth?
Quiet and smooth. Swiss Air.
There you go.
Because it didn't go well for them either.
No. But that was another story. That was
no.
That was a wiring problem, I think.
Yeah, TVs.
So that's it. The DC-10 gone.
The end of an era.
We got an email through. Remember you talked about that A340 that flew over the top of Wellington?
Yeah.
Well, I got an email saying that from a bloke saying that quite often you'll see Qantas 747-400s from South America going over the top here.
Oh, really?
On the way back to Oz, depending. So it's nothing new.
I'll have to get my flight radar out. They fly to Brazil.
They fly to Brazil?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be that one then.
Yeah, it must be.
That'd be the 747-400ER.
Yeah, they're long-range ones. They're slightly longer-range ones. 400
miles or something.
Yeah. The ones they're just about to get rid of.
No, they're not getting rid of those ones.
Are they keeping the ERs?
I think they're keeping those. Everything else is going.
I thought by 2000. We'll have a look, but I thought that by 2019 or something, all of them would be gone.
Oh, really? Even those ERs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, well,
we'll check up
for the next one.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you have been listening to me, Paul Brennan, in Wellington, and
me, Martin Noakes, still alive in Wellington.
Yeah, we'll get well soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
We might see you in a few weeks.
Maybe, probably not.
Well, we can get Skype to the hospital bed, probably.
Yeah, all right.
The pneumonia ward.
Yeah.
Okay, see you.